Brother, how are you?
I'm good. Hey, Coach Norvell and Coach Fuller also mentioned that the defense forced a few turnovers today or got a few takeaways.
Well,
Um, was the offense trying to do too much, or were those just really good plays by the defense in your impression?
no, I think I think they just made good plays. Anytime you throw two picks, that's the middle field safety with Dent, and forced a turnover. Those are forced, turnovers. So they did a good job of taking the ball away.
Next will be Ben Meyerson from Tomahawk Nation.
Hey, Coach. Just what's your impression then of Bless Harris and Hayden Lyles, and where have they been coming through in their development? How they've been fitting into what you guys have been doing?
Yeah, well, first I'll speak on this Bless. Bless got thrown into the fire. He taking reps, ones, twos, and threes. I've been putting him against different matchups, different situations, really depending on the situation that's called for in practice. If I see him a little fatigued and we got a 2-minute drill and it's the threes, I'm throwing him in there. If we're on the goal line, it's the ones. I want to see him straighten, just throwing him in some compromising situations just to see how he responds mentally to, more reps, situational, functioning, fatigue, all that, because technically, this is only my 10th practice with him. So I got to see him uncomfortable and force him into some situations, see how he can respond. And that's how we get to learn each other and keep growing a relationship. With Caden Lyles, same thing. I'm putting him in some rough situations where he got to be a leader and sometimes guide and tell guys what to do, and also stress to him that he has to know it playing in the middle of the offense. So, really just challenging them each day to see what kind of response I get and then growing a relationship from there. But I've been pleased with both of their progression.
Next will be Brendan Simone from Knowles 247.
Hey, Alex, it sounds like both Micah Pittman and Johnny Wilson had solid days. So we spoke to Coach Norvell earlier. I guess what have those two done well throughout camp to kind of acclimate themselves to this offense, and what did they do particularly well today?
It's the same thing. It's, a lot of it is just learning how we do things and what the standard of how we operate, and making sure they're consistently hitting it. Now, of course, the easiest thing to do is watch them make plays, catch the ball and move. But it's so much more that coach is pleased with. It's just good to see the result of it because that gives you a chance to talk about it. But those guys are fit into those rooms. It's like they've been here for a long time because, they're in there. They're in there situational. You don't see them going the wrong way a bunch of these huge missed assignments. They are the mistakes. They're going to be mistakes. But what's good is that they fit in, they're making plays, they're learning it, and then after the mistakes, you see a lot of guys still encouraging them and pushing them forward, so it's good to see their progression.
Next will be Aslan Hajavandi from War Chant.
Hey, Coach. Coach Norvell was talking about the fact that this has always been a very inclusive coaching staff. You've always been heavily involved with game planning.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen any benefit, though, to the offense with you now having the added responsibility of being the offensive coordinator?
Well, we made a few changes to the offense, but it's really more just pushing our guys forward with mentality and everything else. Of course, I've always sat in the game plan rooms. I've always sat and been a part of it. We talk constantly during series, between series. That's always been constant. It's just more of finding what our guys do best and accenting that. We're just finding it. Like, a lot of this is not only evaluation of us, it's evaluation of the offense. And just trying to see what we do best and make sure we're putting them in the best situations and best ways to make plays. So it's not just really plays. It's just, hey, what are we doing? What are these guys doing well at? And let's formulate it around the players that we have and the ones that's making plays.
All right, we'll go back to Ira.
How much have you enjoyed? I know you talked before about when Jordan goes in the huddle. The guys know. Guys want to play for Jordan because of what he brings as a competitor. Have you seen some signs of that with the younger quarterbacks in terms of commanding the huddle and that type of thing?
Well, yeah, of course. Like Jordan, of course, is a little bit different because he's the guy. So, but the other guys, as they make plays and guys see them lightening up, and then they build more confidence. Like Tate's giving them receivers some chances. Guys are O lineman got to be at okay. Now we got that in, so we got to block more. Like you got to when we talk about that, we talk about guys who make other guys overachieve. And that's a trait that's built, and it's building just like the young guys, like it was built with Jordan, it didn't walk in like that way. It comes from relationship on and off the field. So if those guys continue to progress and guys see that, yeah, of course that's going to happen for them. And I'm looking forward for them to go through that journey to be able to get those guys to look at them like that.
We'll go back to Ben Meyerson.
Hey, Coach. This is kind of a big picture question, but from an offensive philosophy standpoint, how important is motion in what you guys are doing? And what's the use for it, and what are you trying to accomplish?
When you're talking about motion, you're talking about multiple things. It's more of a broad term. Like when you motion, you're trying to create leverage sometimes. Sometimes you're trying to make a change of strength motion. Sometimes you're trying to make movement motion, whether it be speed or, run across the field. Or sometimes you're trying to dictate coverage or dictate defensive calls based off motion. So, it's an offensive weapon that all offensive use depending on how the defense adjusts or what advantage we create by moving and not just staying stagnant at the same time or just getting them on the move to create speed pre-snap. So there's abundance of things. How we like to look at it is what advantage it gives us. We don't want to be a team that just motions just to motion. We're going to create an advantage point and to see why we want to do this to create an advantage for our offense or to get a guy free or defensive communication. So it's multiple things that we use motions for.
Next will be Matt Marshall from the Orlando Sentinel.
Alex, Mike talked a little bit earlier about, Tate's development, trying to push Jordan a little bit. What have you seen from him, and how important is it for Tate to kind of keep striving, even though he may not be the starter this year? How important is it to keep striving to try to get that job and push Jordan a little bit more?
Well, yeah, I don't think it's more about pushing Jordan. It's just more of becoming the best quarterback he can become. It's just more improvement. Of course, in football, we look at everything as competition. This is more of Tate becoming the best player he can become and getting better each day. Now, Jordan is the QB, but I like to see Tate progress, just like Jordan had to progress before he was the guy. It's just more of, are they taking the steps to become it's the best player they can become? Now, competition comes with the job we have, but at the end of the day, everyone's job is to become better each day. And what we like when we talk about Tate is we like that he's getting better each day. But also Jordan is getting better each day. So it's a full progression of deal. We just like it because, Tate's a little bit different because he's making some big strides.
Go back to Ira.
Thomas Schrader getting to play some of the scrimmage today. Chris Norvell was happy about that. I know going back to when he first got here, Thomas was a guy you guys had high hopes for. He's had so many setbacks. He's had a couple of setbacks. How close? Do you think he'll be in a position where he might be able to help out by this fall? Kind of where is he in his development? Because that's obviously had to put him back some.
Yeah, he'll help us. He'll be fine. He's just going through his process of returning to play, but he got out there and mixed it up in live situations. I think that's the best telltale sign that he's going to be ready to go. So I'm pleased with his progression. Josh and those guys down there in the athletic training has done a phenomenal job with him. He's confident, so we're going to keep pushing him to the limit of what they allow us to, but he's doing a really good job. He will help us in the fall.
Next will be Carter Carls from Tallahassee Democrat.
Alex, I want to ask you about Tony Tokar's. Just how would you describe how he kind of coaches his quarterbacks, and what does he give to that room? And then secondly, what's your favorite season of The Wire?
All right, here we go. So first with Tony, I know it's going to sound okay. He coaches for understanding. There's a difference between coaching and coach, just so you're saying the right things. But when I watch Tony, he's coaches for understanding. So when I look at him, look at the quarterback in the eyes and look back, he's making sure they understand not only what he's saying, but the context and the content of what he's saying. And I think that's a difference. Because I can go out there and I can just yell the right answers and they can spit them back because sometimes it's memory. Sometimes you go in a position meeting and they memorize what you say, but they don't have an understanding. The biggest compliment I see from him is his players and how he coaches is they understand what's going on and the why we're doing the things we're doing. And if I had to go my favorite season of The Wire, I would believe it'll most likely be the last two seasons because it brings it all to a close in totality when it deals with the media, kind of how they tied running and their connections through Baltimore. And also you see the rise and power of another, in the streets, with Marlowe. And you kind of get to see the power structures of how things are operated and disciplined and, kind of life goes on. And as important as you are, our time will pass. So no matter what you're doing, make sure you're humble and grateful and enjoy your time, but always know that, our existence is insignificant when it comes to the big picture.
We'll go back to Brendan.
I'm not sure how to follow up a question on their seasons of The Wire. I guess I'll stick with offensive line, though. I want to get your thoughts, Alex, on the development of Darius Washington. I know you guys talked about moving at different spots this spring. I guess how he's doing with the process of playing different spots. And then also just Maurice Smith and how he's developing physically. Now he seems pretty healthy and consistently playing.
Darius is, very similar to a player I had at John LeGlue, who, was with the Steelers. But he's one of the few players I've had that play all five positions. He snapped the football. He's playing, guard, tackle. I can swing him out there at any time. He can perform. So he's a guy that, he comes to work every day. We do the GPS and the functions through like the workloads and things like that. He is always really good. He's a work hard guy. So I can't say enough good things about Darius. Now I got to challenge Darius in other areas, but I also got to say thank you for Darius because in this day and age, nobody wants to play all 5 positions, and he's able to do that for us. Now, what was the second part of your question? I didn't hear the second part. I just heard about Darius.
The second part was about Maurice Smith and how that he's been healthy, consistent.
Yeah.
And I guess what kind of development he's had.
Yeah, Mo is sometimes I take Mo for granted, man. He's steady Eddie. He's been a good force for us. Of course, the generality, he has to get better because people forget about Maurice. He was a young guy. He's still a young guy. He's played a bunch of football just because of the circumstance, but, he's still fully developing his body, understanding. What I've been pleased with is his understanding of the offense, the calls, and him starting to challenge those guys to do more, and then, he has his own offseason challenges that he has to go through to get bigger, stronger, faster, and all that kind of good stuff, but I've been pleased with his mental processing.
We'll go back to Aslan.
Kind of following up on Maurice, I know guys aren't allowed to feel sorry for themselves, but like in this day and age with the transfer market and everything, and a guy coming in, how impressed kind of have you been with Maurice's mental application, I guess, as you said, to kind of keep focusing despite being pushed, and then also some young guys in terms of we're getting in the interior, Estes and Herring, how you kind of maybe assess their growth so far?
All right, Mo's a competitor. He don't care who I bring in there. He gonna compete. That's how his mentality is. Even when I had a discussion, because I have discussion with my guys when we do make decisions like that, he told me, come on. So Mo's a competitor. I don't have to worry about that. Estes, Zane, those guys have been getting a ton of reps. And like when I talked about for coaching, for understanding, I'm starting to see them do a better job of understanding the why. Because Zane is very similar to Schrader. He had some setbacks where he had to kind of, bounce back for some things that kept him off the field. So seeing those guys both out there taking a maximum load of reps, it's going to be big time and pay off for us. And I do expect both of those guys to help us this fall also. So, we're getting deeper. I know Coach talks about getting deeper in competition and not only competition, just having more guys that are able to go compete at a high level. I've been pleased with that progression.
All right, we're going to go 2 more. We'll go back to Ben.
Hey, Coach. With all the new players you guys have brought in this offseason and all the returning players, who stood out to you in terms of leadership? Obviously, Jordan, he's the natural leader of the team, but who have been some of those guys that you've seen in spring so far?
Well, on offense, man, a guy like, Trayshawn Ward, he's done a good job. I see his passion and his energy, and he's learning how to channel that to kind of connect with all the whole offense. But his energy, his passion, he brings in, and I've been pleased to watch him, how he's kind of more taking on that leadership role and taking charge. Dylan Gibbons is doing another good job. Every time I walk in the meeting room, I see, the whole group in there, and he's running the remote, teaching guys and going through things. So I've been pleased with him also. That's a couple of guys there that, but it's actually more guys, but I've been pleased that those guys stand out, man. Even, Keyshawn Heldon, I was hearing him today. It's guys that's taking lead and doing a good job of keeping guys focused. So, I've enjoyed that. And it's some more guys that's coming up and coming. The next time I get in front of this mic, I'm going to give them some shout-outs, but I like what I'm seeing.
Last one will be Ira.
Defensive guys like to talk. Jared Verse is certainly one of those kinds of guys. Does that do anything? Does it bring any juice to an offensive line when defensive linemen kind of bring that kind of get a little chirpy?
Yeah, it's competition. We play a sport and we play a position where you get hands on every day, every time, every drill, everything we do. You're putting your hands on somebody else and you're trying to make them do something they don't want to do. So there's got to be a little edge and aggression to it. My favorite thing about it is afterward, they all walking together, pushing each other. So that breeds competition. So, talking is a part of football. You look at it from the high level. Most of the time when a guy's talking, he's talking to himself to keep him motivated. You just get to hear the words he's saying because he's directing them to you. But they're talking to themselves to get them in their zone. And sometimes it could be a deterrent where they get out their game. So what I like about Verse is, he brings it, his effort. All of that speaks volumes. I see him chasing down backside runs. I see him getting high effort in obvious situation, obvious pass, obvious run. So, I like his mentality, and I like how he brings it because that's who he is. I always say football is what you do, not who you are, but who you are shows through how you play. So, we get to see what kind of person and what kind of young man he is.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
No doubt.